Hi, everybody. We are live. This is Legal Limelight with Jenn Deal. We were dealing with some fun technical issues, so I'm not sure if this is still if this is streaming on LinkedIn. This is also definitely streaming on Facebook. I can see right now, but for those of you where it says event canceled, that's not true. Jenn, I'm commenting on your post right now. We're live. So, Jenn, thank you so much. I know that LinkedIn just changed all their live settings. So, what we're doing now is we're using Restream, which is a third-party tech software for any of you guys who are interested, like how are we streaming live? And it's cutting across YouTube, Facebook, and hopefully LinkedIn. There's 3 people watching right now, guys. Comment in the comments. Let us know where you're actually watching from. That would be awesome because we don't know if it worked on LinkedIn because it said it was canceled. But without further ado, this is recording and streaming somewhere. So Jenn, first of all, it's awesome to meet you in person.
Yes, right.
And I'm going to give a quick intro and then we can chat.
I am really looking forward to it.
This is great. And thank you for posting all of that and resharing everything today. So Jenn Deal is a big law attorney. She specializes in complex and contentious trademark and trade dress infringement, false advertising, and unfair competition matters. And as a life coach, Jenn coaches high-achieving women who feel unfulfilled and stuck. Jenn helps women live their best, boldest, and most brilliant lives and feeling good while doing it. So, Jenn, I'm super excited to have you here, and it's nice to see you in person.
Yes, I know we have come across each other plenty of times on social media, but it's nice to actually connect in this way.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about, how you got started and what made you, I think we should start with law school, right? Like what made you go to law school?
So it was a last minute decision for me. I was one of those kids that was very argumentative, and they got told by everyone, you should be a lawyer, because that's what you tell argumentative kids when you don't know how to tell them that they are a pain in the butt. So I had decided very early on that I was not going to be a lawyer. And then my junior year of college, I was studying to become a researcher in the criminal justice space, and I had a legal class with a professor that I loved, and it sort of opened my eyes to the possibility of going to law school. And so it was just that one class that sort of changed it for me.
Amazing. Amazing. And when people tell you you're argumentative, it's so funny. It's such a common story. It's it's good and bad, right? Like why just because you're argumentative doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good lawyer, but also too, at least it got you here.
Yeah, I think it's one of those funny things that it really shows you what other people's perspective of lawyers is versus what actually being a lawyer is. I mean, of course, there's some arguing in litigation, but a lot of what we do is not argumentative. It's actually collaborative. And so it's just funny to see what non-lawyer perspectives of what lawyers do are and how instilled that is at an early age.
It's so true. And just so you know, it looks like we are definitely streaming live on we're definitely live on Facebook. Unfortunately, LinkedIn did not migrate over.
Not having it today.
Yeah, that's kind of annoying, but it's all good. I actually just posted the link on your comment. I can also do it here. But anyway, I think we should just dive right into it because I like to keep these to 30 minutes so we can, so people will actually watch the recording. So how did you end up, I want to know, how did you end up doing IP and then how did you end up in big law?
So big law, when I went into law school, I had no understanding of what lawyers did. I did not have any in my family. I just knew that I was not ready to have a real job, and I was really good at school. And so law school was sort of the next step there. But when you get into law school, as I think everyone knows, like the recipe for success that you're sold is big law. when I went in, my goal was just I was coming from a really small public school in South Georgia, going to Emory. I really just wanted to be not in the bottom like 25% of the class.
Mhm.
So I wasn't thinking about where I would end up. Graduation was really my only goal. And then I did surprisingly well my first semester. And, once you do well, you just sort of get on that track, right? OCI.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of perpetuates itself. And so I went with Big Law because that's the thing that everyone told me was the thing to do. Ultimately, I'm glad I made the decision that I made. And the reason I ended up in IP, that was a more thought out decision, fortunately. So I had a professor who taught property, and I absolutely loved her. I just thought she was brilliant. And she had actually been an associate at my law firm before she left to go be a professor. And funny enough, she's actually back at my law firm now. And so we were working together. But I just thought she was incredible and smart, and she made everything sound really interesting. So I followed her in all of the classes that she taught. So trademark, copyright, all of those things, and ended up at the firm because I thought that if she liked it there and she thrived and she still kept up with the people in the firm, then it was probably a pretty good group. And the subject matter is just always, as you know, it's just really interesting. And I think it's so relatable. Everyone can sort of understand what the trademark is, what a copyright is, and why they matter and why we do what
So
we do.
true. So true. Okay. So then how did you start coaching? Like what was it that made you start coaching?
So I found coaching maybe about 4 years ago now. I have an anxiety disorder, and I thought I was doing a pretty decent job at managing it given, the field that we are in, which it tends to lend itself to everyone having anxiety.
Mhm.
Um, and it got to a point where it wasn't really working for me. And I had tried therapy and I had tried medication, and all of those things were good, but I didn't feel like I was thriving. Like I just still sort of felt like I was surviving. And I came across a coach who at the time had a program called the Lawyer Stress Solution. It was a podcast. I binged listened to it, and then joined her coaching program. And so I kind of got into the self-coaching piece of it. And then the pandemic hit.
Mm.
And I just saw such a need for, especially in our industry, the need was already there, but then the pandemic hit, and everyone, even people who didn't deal with mental health disorders or who typically had good mental health and good mental well-being, where everyone was struggling. And so part of my pandemic project, I just wanted to, figure out how, beyond just the legal piece of it, that I could give back to this community, because I really do like lawyers. I think that, we're a great bunch of people despite all of the jokes. And
Yeah.
so decided that that's the thing that I would do instead of learning how to bake sourdough bread, which I'm sure I would have been a disaster at. I went ahead and got my coach certification and have been doing that for the last 8, 9 months.
Oh my gosh. No, it's like you have to figure out what to do and how to channel all your energy, because as we're lawyers, it's not just the law. We really like have so many other we're people, like, right? We
Yeah,
have other interests and passions, and if you just spent all your time doing law, it can be extremely that's how burnout happens. Like, do you agree with
absolutely.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. And we get in this bubble of lawyers, and we think that everyone thinks about their jobs the way we do and works as much as we do and has the same sort of perspective of what life should and can look like.
Mhm.
And I think those beliefs are really limiting for a lot of lawyers and just contribute to the general overwork and overwhelm that is so prevalent in our industry.
So, like, were you embarrassed at first? Were you nervous to do this? Like, there's not that many lawyers who are really out there on social. Even your post today, you were like, Francesca's something about like being at the forefront or
Yeah.
doing groundbreaking and breaking the mold. That's what you said.
Yeah.
And it's true, but like, it's also this, maybe I make it look easy, but this it's not easy, right? Like every time I
Yeah.
post something, I'm like, oh my God, are people did I say something wrong? Can it be interpreted the wrong way? And like,
Yeah.
especially with my story, like I left Big Law, I don't want to discourage people, everyone leaving Big Law,
Yeah.
like my experience was different, but I made a move for myself because I listened to my body and I listened to my It was just like what I needed to do at that time.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that everyone experience is the different is the same. And so, but then like you have those fears. So
Yeah.
part of it is just posting and getting over it and like
Yeah.
forgetting about it. Do you have any tips for lawyers who have that same hesitation?
I struggled more with telling people I was a life coach than the posting content itself, just because I had spoken to so many lawyers that I just knew that the people pleasing, the perfectionism, anxiety, overwhelm, like I knew maybe there's some subset of lawyers that doesn't resonate with. But from my anecdotal experience, everyone feels that way, even if they're not necessarily feeling it as often as others. But for me, getting on there and telling people that I was a life coach, based on my own prior understanding of what a life coach was, which was completely inaccurate. That was the harder part. Like the idea that someone might not take you seriously, or the idea that life coaching is fluff, and maybe it is for some life coaches, but the ones I know and that are in this community of people that use LinkedIn, it's not fluffy. And so seeing people like you post, seeing other coaches post, that really helped me
Good.
to figure out that, sometimes you just got to do it and let the fear be there and know that not everyone's going to like it, but if you can help one or two people with every post, then for me it's worth it to do it.
It's so true. And like I did my first social media for lawyers super informal, right? Like I literally just took out the camera and started talking. Um, I I bulleted notes. Like, okay, here's all the things I wanted to talk about. But like having a conversation, talking about it, I got so much feedback from people like,
Yeah.
holy crap, I didn't even know about some of those platforms. And so just by like having the conversation about it and making lawyers
Yes.
more aware of it, I mean, the reality is that it's here, it's not going anywhere, and this is the new normal. But the good thing about it is that you can get in early,
Yeah.
which is fantastic for whatever profession. And I mean, we're not even that early. There
Yeah.
are there are people like look up Rachel Brenke. There's people who've been doing this for a very long time and they've really honed it in and their stuff is so professional and streamlined and they've modeled a lot of them have modeled after the online entrepreneurs, which to anyone who's not online and doesn't know about coaching, this is an entire industry of people who have figured out how to make money online. And
Yeah.
so they were ahead of the game when COVID hit.
Yes.
But now that COVID's here, this is something that it's just going to be part of your practice to educate clients and potential customers, but also this is huge for marketing. Like, do you agree with me that gone are the days where you just wait for the phone to ring?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially for as you move up, whether my only experience has been with big law, and I do think to some extent it's easier in big law to not worry too much about marketing yourself because there's some work that just automatically comes to the door. But if you're at a smaller firm or a mid-sized firm even, or you just really want to bring in your own business and not rely on someone else to do that for you, I mean, this is a way that you stand out. Otherwise, the legal industry is behind when it comes to technology all the time. It takes us
All
forever
the
to
time.
catch up. And so this is a real way to stand out. And from what I have seen, from my own experience on LinkedIn, like you not only can you stand out, but you can make some really good connections that you're just not going to make from attending random networking events. Like it's really meaningful connections that you're making with people.
It's so true. And I'm just adding, like people can actually ask us questions if they want to. Comment below. I'll leave that up there. Like this is pretty cool what we're doing. And we have
Yeah,
four
it's
people
incredible.
on here. Guys, say hi. Let us know who you are because we can't see you, but you could see us. So drop a line. Let us know who you are. Say hello or ask a question. So Jenn, and like what you were saying about this being the new normal and like not relying on the in-person events. Like I want to focus on that. I mean, have you been to any in-person events since COVID?
I've been to a couple, but they've been very small groups and none have been client facing, right? And depending on your practice, I know for both of us, when you practice trademark law, you are practicing nationally. You're in federal court, your clients are everywhere. And so to actually see clients in person was not always easy before the pandemic. And now with no one wanting to travel, you've really got to figure out what those look like. And we've done some really fun events. And I actually think that I've probably seen my clients' faces twice as much or more than I did before the pandemic when you were just using
Wow.
the phone or email. So it's been actually really nice. I think those relationships have developed even further because of the technology, which no one considered using before, even though it
Yeah,
was available to us.
this is it's changed everything. I mean, like I'm literally like in my like little office right now. I'm trying to like angle out so you don't see my kitchen because we're all like home and trying
Yeah.
to figure out space. But it's also too, the Zoom calls and the ability to just like pick up your phone even and connect
Yeah.
and not even have to schedule events. Like Jen, you and I were just like, let's figure out a time and let's put this up. And we didn't overthink it. I sent you a brief outline for talking points. And this is just like the new normal, making like bridging the gap between lawyers and consumers because
Yeah,
most lawyers
absolutely.
don't think about like clients being consumers,
Yeah.
but they are. And it's, the I would say like the negative interpretation of lawyers are that they're stuffy, they're hard to get a hold of, and when you do get a hold of them, they charge you a ton of money.
Yeah.
And that's not true anymore. And
No.
so how are you operating both in your law practice, but also your coaching practice to really give clients and consumers access to you?
Um, I actually think that one, as I said, I think that even though obviously there's a difference between video and in person, the difference between video and just hopping on the phone with a client is completely different, right? We've bonded over seeing shared spaces, seeing each other's pets, all sorts of things that you never would have gotten if you're just communicating via email. And so I think that it has allowed us to build relationships with people that are not immediately here in a way that you just never could before. And to me, what keeps clients coming back to you, yes, you want to do good substantive legal, work, but people connect to other people and that's what they want. And lawyers are no different than that. Like that human connection of creating a real relationship where you know your clients' kids' names, you know what their cat looks like. Those are real relationships. And that is a value add on top of whatever legal services that you're providing.
Yeah, we're not machines, we're real people. Also, there's so many lawyers out there. And I think like, do you agree that using social media is actually a good way to distinguish yourself because the market is going to be so saturated? People are looking online now. It's not just referral based. Like they're going to go online. The younger generations, they get all their information from TikTok,
Yep.
from Instagram, and from Facebook. They literally search those platforms. They don't even go to Google now. So
Yeah.
if you're not on any of those, like in the next 5 to 10 years, you know, that's a huge gap of potential consumers that you're missing out on. So, do you agree that like you can use kind of social media to really enhance your client base and also build that connection?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even on, if you're focusing, I know a lot of lawyers feel more comfortable with LinkedIn, but even if you're looking at LinkedIn, if you think about like what your LinkedIn profile and presence looked like before, for especially for me, it's the exact same information, copy and paste from my website, my firm's website, right? It's just my bio on my LinkedIn. It doesn't tell anyone anything more about me than what they would find if they just Googled my name and went to my firm's site.
Uh-huh.
And so I think what LinkedIn does is allows you to show a little bit more of who you are. And it also just allows you to give value in a way that I don't think is available otherwise. So, lawyers, we do pro bono work, we try and give back, but there's not a ton of it where we can really give back to the community. And so, like, taking yours for instance, you do these great posts on just like trademark information and what you need to know. That I think that even if people don't hire you, you're still offering that value and building that goodwill in the community. And that's just not something that you can do when you can't reach the number of people that you can reach through social media.
Yeah, and I mix it up. I mix it up with a lot of like educational, substantive trademark stuff and also
Life
On
stuff.
LinkedIn, I do this a lot, and you do this too, and that's why that we're in a different category. Like we're really pushing those boundaries and like breaking the mold, because most people use LinkedIn, like you said, it's that professional platform, but now people need to start using it differently.
Yeah.
Like put a post out there. What's your experience like? I'm a new mom, and it's crazy to me that no one told me, or no one talks about like having you have to pick your kids up every day.
Yeah.
Daycare, sure, it's at 5 o'clock, which is still early. But then for the parents that had kids actually in school, like I know from going to school, I leave school at 3 o'clock, but now being a parent, it's like, holy crap.
Someone
Who's
has to
gonna
be
go get my
there.
kids at 3? Do you have kids, Jen?
I do not have kids. But I talk to my colleagues about my women colleagues about this all the time because there's so many things that naturally shift for you that, people talk about, but they don't really talk about in a way that I think is helpful or allows there to be a discussion for how to change it. And so that's been really fun to see on LinkedIn, is to just know that other people out there have the same thoughts and the same struggles as you, because
Because
I think
we're
is
all
what
going through it, like
everyone's
most
going through it.
people
Yeah,
who
just
have
no one
kids.
talks about it, and so you think that you're the only one and that there's some sort of problem with you, right? Like that you're the woman that can't hack it. You're the mom that is not the super mom, you're the associate that has too much anxiety and everyone else feels really good about their job all the time. And it's just not true. And so creating that community alone, I think, is really great for the mental health of the legal industry in general.
It's so true. I know we're coming up at the end of this. I like to keep them short
Yeah.
just because people will actually watch them. Jen, you and I need to do one also on Instagram. So I like to keep these also, I'm going to tell you all the technology behind it, so this is not a secret. So I use Restream right now. Clearly there's issues linking to LinkedIn, which I have to figure out for my next one, but this is streaming on Facebook, all my pages and my personal and YouTube. So the YouTube video is going to be up there, and it saves all my YouTube videos. So if you guys are thinking about this, like, Restream's a really good platform. The only negative is that it doesn't go on Instagram. So you and I will
Fascinating.
do a separate post recording on Instagram for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I had not heard of Restream, so I am excited to check it out.
There's other ones too, like StreamYard is another one. This is all trial and error, like
Yeah,
figuring out what.
absolutely. That entrepreneurship, yes, that sums it up.
So, okay, before we go, I want to know, where can people reach you, and like for your coaching, how can people work with you?
So I am a newfound lover of LinkedIn. I'm on IG at Jen Deal Coaching, but I really just love the LinkedIn platform. I think there's a lot less clutter and some really meaningful discussions that happen there. So you can just search my name, Jen Deal. I'm an attorney at Kilpatrick Townsend in if that helps you find me among the other Jen Deals. So I am actually fully booked with coaching clients right now, but I have a couple spots open in January. So if you check out my posts and it seems like something that's interesting to you, you can go to my website, which is jendealcoaching.com, and sign up for a wait list there and get on the first people that I email when those spots open up.
Amazing. This has been fantastic, Jen. Thank you so much. For those of you, there's four people watching on Facebook, presumably. I am going to share this link on LinkedIn, so people who missed it on the LinkedIn audience will get to watch the replay. Jen, have an
Yeah,
awesome day, and
you
thank you
too.
again.
It was very fun.
It was fun.
Bye, Francesca.